Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Glorious Reacts. Before we begin, I would love to introduce ourselves. I am Arnold, your friend from Down Under, and I am joined by the guys. The Thriller from Manila, Joel. Say hi, Joel.
Hi guys, I have the power.
And you most definitely do. And our very own Singapore Sling, Paul. Say hi, Paul.
Hello. I don't have the power.
Not quite. In this episode, we get to relive a portion of our collective childhoods in Masters of the Universe Revelations, which debuted on Netflix streaming service on the 3rd of July. Join us as we react to the first 5 episodes of the season, childhood-tainted rose-colored glasses and all. Before we continue, I would like to inform you, dear listeners, that this is not a spoiler-free show, and that we will be talking directly about events that have occurred in the series, most of which will be revealing key story elements. Le shock. If you have not watched the series and would like to remain unspoiled, please stop here and come back once you've watched the show. Let's get right to it. Our recap for this episode will be done by Joel. So take it away, Joel.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can remember. So anyway, so the Masters of the Universe Revelation is the remake by Kevin Smith, the guy from Clerks, and he remade the 80s classic, and it drops us right in the middle of the conflict between the heroes of Eternia, led by He-Man, and the villains from Snake Mountain, led by Skeletor. The skull-faced villain, having gained access to the innermost chamber of Castle Grayskull, tricks Eternia's champion into unlocking the Hall of Wisdom and exposing a magic orb that could spell doom for the entire universe. In a last-ditch effort, He-Man calls on the power of Grayskull to avert the crisis, but pays a huge price for it, splitting the Sword of Power in two and sacrificing his own life. He-Man's selfless act also has repercussions after the battle, as his secret identity as Adam is revealed, shocking those who never knew, especially Teela, Adam's closest friend. Duncan, the man-at-arms, is also banished from the kingdom for not protecting the royal prince. Teela, disillusioned by the perceived trickery of those who knew, turns her back on her newly appointed position as man-at-arms and walks away from the kingdom. Then we get a time jump. Some time passes after the events that led to the downfall of magic in Eternia, and a jaded Teela and her friend Andra are set on a mission to reunite the two halves of the Sword of Power, as the existence of Eternia depended on the magic that the sword brought into the universe. Each of the two halves had magically gone back to their places of origin. They're forced into an alliance with evil Lynn, whose expertise in magic made her a valuable companion in the journey. Along the way, Roboto, Orko, and the Beastman join the party as they travel to Subternia and Pre-Eternia, facing several challenges on the quest to reforge the Sword of Power and bring magic back to Eternia. They succeed in doing so, and Adam, who had been rewarded for his valor with Afterlife in Preternia, goes back to Eternia with a party, or what's left of it, possibly forfeiting his chance at going back to paradise. Just as Adam was about to call on the power of Grayskull to once again bring back magic into the universe, Skeletor goes all Voldemort, stabs Adam midway of saying the magic words, and claims the power for himself.
Wow. All right. All that in 5 episodes. Let's go straight into our discussion with our lights. I'd like Paul to start off for us in this section.
Okay. So, I'm gonna make it very quick. I have very, very specific likes for this show.
Yes, sir.
First and foremost, the animation is top notch. It is so the same. They use the same animation house as the one that did the Castlevania series for Netflix. So We all know how that went, so we know that this animation style is good. That they're very good at what they do. The action scenes were amazing. So the battle, the combat, everything was done really well. Next, and then as important to the animation is the voice acting. So
Oh, right.
I love the choices for the voice actors that they picked for the cast of He-Man. Sorry, of the Masters of the Universe.
Right.
Revelation.
Hmm.
I love that they did a little bit more lore building into Eternia. They introduced, at least for me, they introduced Subternia, Preternia. So these things were unknown for me.
Prior.
I don't remember seeing them or hearing of them back in the 80s cartoons, but
Oh, yeah. No, nobody.
adding
probably
them
did.
now,
Yeah.
adding them now and expanding the lore of the universe.
Actually,
of,
do we know if Subternia and Preternia actually existed in the comics?
I don't think it existed in the cartoon.
In the
probably built
cartoon
on
for
it in the
sure,
comics-
yes.
in
But
the
about
comics.
the comics, we
the
have.
comics, I'm not sure as well.
I think.
So,
Is there anybody here who's actually familiar with the comics?
no, I
okay.
never had I never had the opportunity to get the comics. So and part of that also is the addition of the cult of Tricops, the motherboard, and everything that's connected to that one. So I like that when magic was removed from Eternia, that these people went to find something else
To worship.
not to worship, but to
fill it
make their
in.
lives like livable, easier.
So it's your reverse visionary.
It's a.
It's basically
Actually, that
right?
was what I was to ask. Yeah, is it reverse? But then again, the Eternia was already a mix of technology and magic, right?
Yes, they had
were
flying crafts and laser beams,
And they were-
as well as fireballs and lightning bolts. So,
right. Yeah, and swords of power.
yeah, so they removed the magic, but so that these people now depend on technology, and also having turned into Terminators.
They were assimilated like Borg.
More like Borgs, I would say.
Exactly.
Borg, yeah, Borg.
We were talking about last time that we think it's some sort of like nanobots that we actually have.
Nanobots, yeah,
Consume,
it kind of looked like nanobots when they showed it in the cup, right? When Tricops was giving it to the volunteer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want, and that's like a lot of lore building that I want to see more of going into the series, and how many seasons they plan to do this in. At least that expands the universe that we already know of and opens new avenues of interesting storylines that we can see, we can watch. And lastly, I like the fact that they used old clips from different things, from toy boxes, references to old figures that were obscure, things that were maybe produced in limited quantities, but they never really was able to introduce into the old 80s show, because we all know that He-Man was a show that was made to sell toys, right?
Yes.
So it was a whole marketing thing. So they did make limited quantity toys that you could get by sending in mail purchases of bread. So, and then they reintroduced that figure here as part of the champions in that we see in Eternia. So I love that they sprinkle a lot of these small Easter eggs, and I wouldn't have known about it if I saw the champion, I researched, and then I saw what that champion was based on. So it was really cool trying to hunt the Easter eggs and trying to find out the origin of that character, or that thing that they introduced in the show.
Right, and I think one of the things we were wondering about is if this is also one of the goals of the show actually is for Mattel to sell more toys again.
Oh, definitely.
Right,
Definitely.
no question.
And
Yeah.
there will be an uptick in boys getting He-Man again.
I mean,
Yeah.
before we started recording, I actually did check. They're already up on Amazon. I think they're already doing some pre-orders for
Gosh.
Skelegod, which is the Skeletor.
right. Yeah.
powered up by the Sword of Power. And then they also have playsets for Evelyn. The new the new animated
updated
version
Evelyn,
of Evelyn, and of course uh, Tila. I think Tila's there. So
I would have expected so.
Seems like
I
the
don't
biggest
think-
she's
twist
kind
of
like
this
the main
first-
no,
character.
but I haven't
Exactly.
seen the whole line, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. Um, um, I'll go next because I think Joel's has expanded this a bit from the last time. I guess I'll start off with the main elephant in the room. Despite being a Masters of the Universe and He-Man being the Master of the Universe of our childhood, we quickly discover. Halfway through the show, halfway through the first episode, 3/4 of the first episode, that this is not a He-Man centric arc. I'm assuming it's the arc, or at least the adaptation, right? I was surprised by the fact that it was a sequel actually to the 80s cartoon. And I believe it was Paul who mentioned that we've had several other adaptations trying to revive the story along the way that has been pushed aside as not canon, at the very least in terms of the flow of this story, directly referencing the 80s one instead of any of the ones that came out in the 90s and the 2000s.
Yeah, the ponytail.
Version of Tila, for example.
Not Tila.
Of
He-Man.
Oh, sorry, yeah, of He-Man. You're right.
There's a 2002
Yes.
He-Man. I'm not sure if it's a reboot but it's something that I'm trying to get a hold of or trying to find out where I
Get
can
a-
watch, because I heard it was a good series.
I wonder if he was still wearing
The one where Skeletor
briefs.
started out with an actual face.
I am not
Oh.
sure. I'm not sure if that's the one,
What?
but I am trying to hunt it down to see, because they said that it was a good reboot of the series.
Oh, okay. Cool. Tell us what you find afterwards. And that. So I was pretty shocked with the twist so early in the show, and then realized obviously it was a different story. It was a story of Tila, and I was like, nah, well, I was willing to leave it as that and feel a bit. Soured me a bit, thinking that hey, they've kind of like ruined my childhood. I mentioned the top of the show,
Which a lot of people online are like
ranting
up in arms about.
Exactly. Yeah,
They're
because
angry about it.
they wanted an updated version of the 80s show, and they kind of did get it. And He-Man's name was not exactly in the title anymore, so it's fair game. It could have been anybody, as we found out at the end of the 5 episodes. The least person.
Because if
they
you
were
do
expecting.
remember, I'm just gonna interrupt you, but if you do remember, it's not He-Man, the Master of the Universe. It's He-Man and the Masters
That's
of
right.
the Universe.
Yep.
So yeah,
So being a not a He-Man story was cool. It being a Tila story was, I guess, the next thing, and we'll talk a bit more about that in the next section. Next thing I really liked about I wanted to add on to Paul's comment about voice acting. We already know it was very hard for me to actually separate the characters before from what we hear when we hear Skeletor, but it was very hard for me to separate him from Joker because Mark Hamill is just so good. But eventually the way that he does Skeletor was great. I loved it.
He had really good one-liners also.
He did. It was still very 80s. I was amazed. I thought He-Man was the only one with the bad jokes, but Skeletor was just really exuding 80s comedy.
But He-Man always has
Quips.
bad jokes because he's a kid, right? He doesn't really know how to.
Well, that's the thing.
you wouldn't know that he's a kid in the 80s cartoon. though.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he
true,
wouldn't
that's
have
true.
looked like a kid if you had a teenager that looked like that. You'd be, you'd be scared. I mean, gosh. But I mean, the type of comedy was there, and the flashbacks. We hear that. We still hear the echo in He-Man's voice, right? I don't know if you noticed that. He echoes. It's like, what
Yeah.
is there a cavern in here? No, this is the sea. But
He
the
has
voice
he
is
has a cavern inside his mouth.
inside his mouth. Oh my god. So there was a lot of those. To the who was the voice for Duncan, the Man at Arms? Liam Cunningham.
Yeah.
Cunningham, yeah. So really liked him. Sir Davos Seaworth, and fellow Game of Thrones actress with Lena Headey voicing Evelyn, and it was great. I was sort of feeling her, that she was channeling a bit of Cersei in the way that she was so condescending about the people around her. But it was great. I mean, it was there was so many there was a lot of personality in the voice.
Yeah, especially Buffy the Vampire Hunter.
That was it. I guess the last
Slayer.
it took me a while to figure out that it was Sarah Michelle Gellar was behind Tila's voice.
I didn't get it because I wasn't really a Buffy fan, so I didn't really get to watch her.
First time she opens her mouth.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's Buffy.
Apparently, Paul is automatically recognized her.
Yeah.
I was like, why does that voice sound so familiar? And I actually had to look it up. And I was like, oh, right. And then the moment that the name and the billing came out, it's like, all right, that's her. One thing that I did really enjoy with the show is Evelyn's life lessons. The least person you'd expect. She was so, I'd mentioned she was so condescending, but she was actually trying to share nuggets of wisdom in there. Her conversation with Andra,
with everyone.
Her conversation with Orko, her conversations with Tila. She was dropping nuggets.
Knowledge bombs.
Exactly.
She always refers to them as kids, right? Because of how, like, I guess
experienced,
ancient she is.
she is. Yeah, exactly. And there was a lot actually to it. It wasn't those extremely cheesy. At the very least, the way that she delivered it didn't come out as a cheesy ones. I have a few quotable quotes, I guess. One of the things is when she was with Andra in the forest. They were making their way towards the Crystal Sea. Don't waste your time on dangerous men. So like, wow, right? They're only there for themselves. You can't fix them. They'll never turn your affection. There's a lot of bitterness in there. Because
I mean, considering how it all turned out,
in the end,
she wasn't really following her own advice.
No, that's true. I guess she was good at giving in. She wasn't very good at taking it, of following it.
Which is the case for most people who actually do give good advice.
That's true. There was something that when she was talking with Tila, following the same vein, when something is dead, you bury it. When it isn't, you nurture it. But you have to face it, or it will haunt you until the end of the day. She was talking about how she was still holding. Well, Tila seems to still be holding a torch for good old Adam.
Yeah.
I wonder if
it
was holding a torch for Adam or for He-Man. I wonder who.
I think it was for Adam. I would think it was for Adam because, I mean, she had a lot more relationship with Adam. Not that it was romantic. Probably like, brotherly.
Maybe it was going there.
Yeah.
Okay. The character growth. There's so much character growth in the 5 episodes. Man at Arms. You find out how he was. He already had a mustache.
Oh,
right?
Mustache, right?
He was already mustachioed. I guess he added the beard, sure.
His hair grew
longer. I guess you see him outside of his helmet, his mushroom helmet more often this time around. That's why you get to see the goatee coming out. But you find out that he was pretty much a very, very loving and devout father. But he was also a very loyal soldier to the kingdom. You find Orko as a person more relatable than the comedy foil that we remember him to be. He's anxious, he's caring of his friends, he's aware of his weakness and he's very much willing to change, and he's extremely loyal. And then obviously the last thing, yes.
No, yeah, just to add, if we're talking about, well, not really, I don't know if it's character growth, but showing in different facets of the character, Cringer.
Yes.
Yep.
Cringer, especially when we find out that he's been looking after the sorceress all this time. That was really cool to see that he was the one who was guarding the sorceress.
He actually caught a sword flying towards the sorceress, right?
Flying at Evelyn.
At Evelyn, yeah.
Let's just take a moment to realize how much of a awesomeness level up everybody got. Orko can stand against Skeletor's magic to a certain extent, right? Even Skeletor's magic looked awesome. He can bigify himself. He can make his arm bigger. Like,
That was so cool when he did that.
I can't even remember if he's ever done anything so cool. I always
don't
thought that
think
he has just
I've
weird
seen that.
machinations.
The only thing I remember from Skeletor was his poses where he would do like that, where he was either laughing or being mad, and whenever he was running. Those were the two things that I remember him doing. I don't remember him doing actual magic.
Exactly. So everybody got an awesome. So props to the animation house, obviously. Everybody got an awesome, a level up in awesomeness. And then obviously the last thing is the discovery that there are a lot more champions than Adam in previous years, and we never really asked ourselves who was there before, because apparently the Castle Grayskull was an old thing, and now we discovered that there were generations of He-Men. They were not called He-Men now. Of champions with equally hyphenated namings.
Who are these hero?
There was Hero. There was Wundar. There was obviously Grayskull. Does he have a dash in his name?
I don't think he has a hyphen.
He does not have a hyphen.
It's just Grayskull.
And then who is that? The Conan the Barbarian. But the Conan the Barbarian one also doesn't have a hyphen.
Doesn't have a
I forgot his name.
Vortax or something like that.
Oh, yes.
He was the prototype He-Man before they came up with the whole He-Man.
Yes, but if I remember correctly, you mentioned he had a name. We'll come back to that in a bit later on. And obviously there was another sorceress, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
we know that it's also
who barely spoke common
They speak a different language, I think.
So it seems like it's really, really old. I mean, and there are generations of it. It's just kind of sad that we didn't see a lot more. And apparently, when you die and you enter Eternia, you get to choose your form.
And Adam chose his non-powered up form.
His non-tanned version.
Yeah.
His pasty version.
Joel, take us home when it comes to likes.
Oh yeah, well my first one is really it's sort of connected to your first because really the Masters of the Universe Revelation is not it is the cartoon that we grew up with, but it grew up with us. That's why I really don't get the flack that the show is getting from on the internet. Kevin Smith is getting bashed left and right for what he did to the IP. I really like the fact that number one, people died, people get stabbed, because that's actually I just found out about this after rewatching it and watching some videos by Kevin Smith. That was actually one of the things that he noticed when he watched the 80s cartoon. No one ever got stabbed.
Oh, you actually don't see any kind of wound, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's one thing that he really wanted to bring to this series.
Stab wounds.
I guess Mattel back then was very, very particular about. They were like Disney back then.
Because they were selling the sword as well as a toy, right? So they don't want people driving the sword through other kids. I mean, children driving the sword through other kids.
Oh,
that's the thing. I mean, it brings us back to our childhood, but at that point, that first time that someone gets stabbed, it tells us, oh no, this isn't the He-Man that you watched when you were a kid.
No,
it grew up as well.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that is something that I really liked about it. They didn't want to stick to because if you notice before that's where we had all of the one-liners from Skeletor, all of those rhyming one-liners of his. And then after that, especially after the time jump, it became more mature. Everything became more mature, and I like that about it. It would have probably it probably would have worked if they had emphasized it a little bit with a change in hue, make it a little bit more dull, not Zack Snyder dull, but change the coloring, make it brighter so that the eyes would see everything like okay, so everything is more vivid in the flashbacks, but when you get to the present time, it's a little bit more
Oh, it's more
muted.
gritty and grimy because
Yes.
it's more real,
Yeah,
with what's going
it's more
on.
muted basically. The colors are more muted.
Got it.
It's an older version of the cartoon. So yeah, it's something that, and I like that about it. I like that they didn't stay 80s.
Through and through.
Yeah, they didn't stay 80s in the interpretation of the cartoon. And yeah, especially when we started seeing our beloved characters dying one by one,
Oh my gosh.
dying off one by one. You have Orko sacrificing himself
That was amazing,
so that
actually. Yeah,
the party can continue on to Eternia, and you have Roboto also sacrificing himself and
exactly.
having that poignant realization
I
right before
know. He was
he
like, oh,
loses his
and then
spark.
That Pinocchio
explosion.
moment.
Yeah, I am a real boy. And then
Mm.
he dies.
Yeah, the real boy. I felt, I felt fear.
Yes, I
That
feel,
was
and that's a good way to go.
exactly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, so that really, I mean, it's still going back to my first thing that people died. The show is more mature, but yeah, it still involves a lot of the characters that we grew up loving. Yeah, and then lastly, because probably because I've been doing a lot of D&D as well, the entire first part, the first arc, felt so much like a D&D campaign. uh, you had Tila, especially after the time jump. So you had Tila and Andra, a fighter and a tinkerer, getting get going on an adventure to find lost treasure. Even before, even with their scene with Stinkor,
Yeah.
it looked like an adventure. Right? So it's the entire thing. It looked like a D&D adventure. You even have your party with your mage, your barbarian,
yes.
your whatever, your golem, all of these people, and then they go on the journey, they go on the campaign to put together the two magic swords. It was really cool. It was really cool for me. So yeah, that yeah, I don't get the flack that the show is getting. I don't get the flack that the show is getting. All in all, especially after my rewatch, I actually really do like it.
You appreciate it more. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. But just to even it all out, let's talk about our dislikes. Well, let's go to Paul's first.
Dislikes. I only have a couple of dislikes. Like really just a couple of things that I don't like about the show. And it's more connected to the portrayal oh sorry, it's more connected to how the characters react to certain parts of the show throughout the show. So the first one is how Tila reacts to the news that Adam is He-Man while in front of the parents of Adam.
Right.
And so you have two grieving parents in front of you, and you're thinking about how everyone betrayed you because you think everyone lied to you. So, and that whole scene just didn't sit well with me because it doesn't feel like it's how someone would naturally go about complaining about that. It doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't
Yes.
feel normal that's how a normal person would react. Um so yeah, so that's one. And it
I
felt
think we called Tila. She
a
acted
brat.
like a brat because
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
told
So
her.
yeah, so it just doesn't feel like a normal reaction, especially when in front of you you have parents mourning the death of their son,
Yes.
and the only thing you can think about is what it did, what that person did to you. So it just felt like a very unnatural way to react. The other one is also related to that, is because the show so in the show, after after Duncan informs the king and queen that their son is He-Man, and that He-Man perished and that their son is He-Man, the king immediately tells Duncan to banishes
him.
Duncan from the kingdom because he wasn't able to protect Adam. and it doesn't feel like that's the proper reaction of an actually intelligent and kind-hearted king, because it just it felt like he was a brat. so
He was also a
so
brat.
yeah, those are the two things. It's just
They're all brats.
everything else. Like there are times where in Preternia, Tila would have like would you'd see a scene where Tila's still angry at Adam, and Adam would be asking why, or would try to ask her if they could talk about it,
Yep.
and she would just ignore him and just walk away. And
Mm.
yeah, I mean, there, yeah, you could call that being a brat, or her she shouldn't have been um portrayed that way. But I guess because she's with Adam, and she's trying to she's still trying to get over the fact that he didn't tell her. That would I would understand if she reacted that way. But during that scene with the parents, and just knowing about the death, just after the aftermath of the battle, that felt really unnatural.
Mm.
But across the season, the series, like the rest of the episodes, when she would act out on about magic, about not trusting magic, about she would constantly complain. Yeah, it's okay. For me, it's yeah, fine. If that was her personality, because she's a little bit more jaded because of what happened to her, then that's
Yes.
okay. And that also opens up character development
Yeah.
on her end. That's fine. But that initial reaction, I cannot accept that. That's too much. Like it's too it she seemed bipolar at that moment, because it just felt like she had two personalities, and that the death of Adam broke her in half. So
And
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
one remained.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually have an observation about that, Paul. No, I don't know if it's gonna help you to come to terms about the Tila's reaction. But I do think that they sort of sped through it a little too much.
Yep.
Because if you do notice in the scenes prior to that, before they went to Castle Grayskull, they were trying to portray Tila as this, because she isn't the Tila that was in the 80s show.
Yeah.
No,
She had
she's the
already
most
grown
different.
from them.
Apparently, she's the
Right,
most
right.
different one.
Yeah, she's advanced in rank, and then she was already even becoming a man at arms,
Yep.
the man at arms, diba?
Yep.
And they tried to characterize her as someone who was always prepared for everything. She
Right.
even said that line. You have to, I think, and that was, and Adam even tried to make a joke out of it, where she said that you have to know everything. She said something along those lines.
Mm.
Right.
You have to know
Yep.
everything, and then Adam comes back. You can't know everything. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think you know who he is.
Right.
Right? So
Yes, he did.
they really made it a point to highlight the fact that okay, yeah, Tila still doesn't know who He-Man really is. So yeah, and basically you have this person who's gotten really high not high and snooty, but high in the ranks of the military in Eternum. Apparently it's not Eternia, it's not the kingdom of Eternia, it's the kingdom of Eternum. And then she has all of these things that, okay, I'm ready for anything. I know everything, because knowing is half the battle.
Oh,
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah. So and then all of a sudden, her basically what you said, yeah, it broke her. Her
Yeah.
whole belief system sort of broke. I think that she would have been able to react better if it had only been Orko, Duncan, and Cringer who were in the know and didn't tell her. But if you remember, the first person that she actually pointed at was the queen. She pointed at the queen. Now it's like, to her, the entire room was just a room of liars, because the queen didn't even tell her husband.
Yep.
So that's what destroyed. That's what disillusioned her. That it was she was on this state where she thought that everyone was good, everything, she could trust everyone, and then the stink went up even as high as the queen.
Yes.
So because of that, it disillusioned her from magic, from
Pretty much
serving
everything. It
Eternal.
challenged her entire headcanon to
Yeah.
the point that she did an 180 degrees. And
Yeah.
now I appreciated the setup, and this is going into my dislike. I appreciated the setup, but there was just not enough time. And this is probably where, despite your explanation, it's a very good explanation, that it just did not sink in enough.
Yeah.
That we've established that, hey, Tila, by the way, hey, Tila is no longer a side character. Oh, and also, she has this big personality. And so they were trying to fit all of that in that first half of the episode. And we also had to have that sequence wherein they were attacking. Skeletor was doing an attack on Castle Grayskull.
Right.
So there wasn't a lot of opportunity for us to realize that, hey, Tila's been set up for this, and then I understand now why she would fall so hard, like she did. So I caught on to the fact that they're trying to make her this bold, headstrong, completely, well, not level-headed. She was a little bit too brash in a lot of situations. But she was so sure of her reality that if that reality is challenged, it would break her. And now we jump into that point, and we were talking about this in a different conversation about how some shows have plot A and plot B, and they have only so much time in the show to get from A to B, and we end up with something as rushed as this one. And so this is one of the things that I actually did not like, especially with the fact that Tila is our main character.
Yep.
So, however number of remaining episodes we have in the series, I'm hoping that we will get a little bit more, a bit more payback with getting her developed. Because my second dislike is that her character development, they had to put Tila at a certain point by episode 2. That's why she runs away, and then we have the time skip, and we have these people around her. Andra being one of
Gets
them.
a haircut.
She gets a haircut.
Puffs up even more.
She's so jaded. Jaded is the right word. But Sarah Michelle Gellar is just so perky in the background that it was so hard to. She had the comebacks though, but it wasn't as stingy as I would expected. Lena Headey was so much better with the stinging retorts. And so I'm hope that character development still a bit missing, is what I'm saying. Despite her being in the forefront, there was a lot, but with us missing how high she was at the beginning, the fall did not feel as strong yet, and so her climb back up doesn't feel as as rewarding just yet.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that if we get to watch the entire season in its entirety, we will get a bit more appreciation with the effort that we gain from Tila's return to a certain state, whichever state that becomes.
Right.
Joel.
Okay, so for my first thing, it's a little different from your dislikes. The first thing I didn't really quite like was the fact that Skeletor did a Voldemort. He had a Horcrux.
Such a cheater.
Yeah, he had a Horcrux inside of what was that?
Evelyn's
Evelyn's
scepter.
Yeah, the scepter.
Yeah. So he actually was in the same orb as the final magic of Eternia.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he was there.
Now that you mentioned it, yeah, that's
Right?
right.
Yeah, he was there.
So he possessed all of the power at that time. It's just that it was so small.
It would
And
have
he
made
was
more sense
listening
if he
to
was.
everything, right?
Yeah,
Everything
It
that
would have
was
final
actually
happening.
made more sense if he was strapped in
In the skull.
the Havoc staff.
Havoc staff.
Yeah, it would have made more sense because that's his.
No, so because what happened was he was holding his Havoc staff, right? And then He-Man was diverting
The flow
the
of the
magic
energy.
Yeah,
power,
the power.
right? So he was the conduit, and it was gonna explode already.
Mhm.
So to escape, because he was holding his Havoc staff, he had to escape towards Evelyn. Because if he stayed with the Havoc staff, you know what happened to the Havoc staff, right? Only the top was left
Yes.
Exactly.
because it exploded.
The skeleton was the only thing that got left.
Yeah, but
So
so he needed.
Skeletor would have hidden there.
But I
But
think
yeah,
the
but the
logic
fact
was
that he
to
hid.
escape the explosion.
Yeah, the fact that he hid, the fact that he had a Horcrux somewhere around
Yeah.
was really weird.
And that
I
we
didn't
don't
quite,
get-
like.
And that we don't get much, foreshadowing of it. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's a good twist, but it would
Yeah.
have also been a good payout if we had some sort. There was those voices in episode 4 or something like that Evelyn was hearing, but we didn't get a lot of that. It would have been nice if it was like peppered a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's something that was set up,
Mm-hmm.
right? We never
Exactly.
really quite. Yeah, I guess it goes back to that whole thing about Rushed. Okay, we need Skeletor back. Where would he have been? He would have been in in Evelyn's thing. Did we set it up? No need. We just needed to come out of it.
We did not.
Alright.
Oh, by the way, here's a MacGuffin.
So that's it. It was weird for me. I didn't quite like it. The second thing, this doesn't necessarily go against what Paul said, what Paul liked about the show, because I actually like the artwork of the 80s cartoon better than the artwork of this
Wow.
one. Yeah, the
purist
animation,
here.
yes, the animation of this one is really cool and everything, but the 80s Filmation cartoon was iconic for me. And I really liked it. Yeah, and it was also kind of weird for me to see Sorceress being buff. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but when after
did not
she
notice that.
relinquished her
The
her
remaining
magic,
of her power.
she was actually buff. She had biceps.
She was not only
Yeah.
lean, she was
The
actually
artwork, the
ripped.
artwork, it's not it's like it's standard for these Netflix animations, except for that female character in Castlevania. She was the only female lead that I've seen in a Netflix animation.
That
was
Was
wasn't
buff.
slender.
She was
Yes. So even the sorceress was had
Saifa Diaz.
yeah. So yeah, the artwork is pretty much
Was
just
Evelyn
like
buff?
Castlevania.
I don't remember seeing her.
Yes,
on
she
this.
was.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
okay.
she had
Wow.
muscles.
She
Yeah,
had
she had
guns.
muscles.
Wow.
They all had guns. Even Andra had guns.
They even
They had
had
she had pistols.
Andra, I could
Yeah.
Tila had
understand because she
cannons.
works with her hands. Evelyn runs away.
No, but she has like that really heavy
I guess you're right.
orb on top of her.
I guess you're right.
Scepter.
Wielding around that
Yeah.
that
that
scepter.
probably should have like doubled as a mace or something.
He could
Yeah,
have. been,
I
that's
think it
true.
could. Yeah, I think it could.
Yeah.
Morning
and
Star.
yeah, we actually saw the origin of how it became a mace, because in the toys it's actually just a mace. It's not a staff. The Evelyn toy only has a mace with the orb on top. Anyway, yeah, so that's one. The second one is for me is the girl power was a little too on the nose. Yes, I'm all for it. I'm all for like going with these alternative stories and pushing the idea that girls are just as capable as guys.
Hmm?
But to make the entire party, the capable members of the party are all women, or those who contribute are just the women. And then you've got the buff guy, Beastman, your barbarian, who's just the brawn. You've got your mage, who doesn't really show any good things, Orko, until he sacrifices himself.
Mm.
Same with Roboto, doesn't really do anything much. Well, he does kill off those fear zombies. But yeah, not until he sacrifices himself, he doesn't really bring anything to the table. So yeah, it was a little too on the nose for me that okay, this is our version of that girl power shot in Avengers Endgame.
Mm.
Bam.
Yes.
Right, so that was a little too on the nose for me. I would have been fine with the Tila. I am fine with the Tila story. It's a very refreshing take on the IP, and I like that. I like that fact that it's like that. Yeah, but yeah, probably pepper it with a little bit more with capable guys as well.
Oh, I thought
Probably not as capable as Tila, or but yeah.
I thought you'd say pepper it with some more He-Man and Skeletor quips.
Oh yeah, that would have been fun too. That would have been.
We
fun.
do get that, but it's not nearly as much.
Yeah.
We'll probably get it in the future.
Which now brings us to our theories. So obviously this is just part of the season. We have no idea when the next part is going to be. But so what are our theories? What are our expectations for the second part of the season? Let's start it off with Paul.
Okay, so theory for the next next 5 episodes.
Yeah, maybe
the rest
5.
of season 1, whatever that
Or
may,
2.
how many episodes that may be. I think we're gonna see more of the motherboard.
Oh yes,
I really
please.
want to see more of those nanobots. I want to see them expand. I want to see them become a third faction who wants to eliminate all magic.
And a
even
real
if it's
threat,
coming from-
a real
Yeah,
threat
a
rather
real
than
threat,
just bullies.
Yep. I want them to be able to turn that magic and use it as part of like an engine to power themselves up, and then a faction that actually can go up against Skeletor's forces, right? So we have 3 factions now instead of just 2. So yeah, that's one. I want to see Orko back because I like this new more stronger, more confident Orko, and I want to see more of him. Even though let's just, I guess, if we're talking about D&D, let's have the group try to do a Inferno, go down there.
They go
try
back to
see more
they
of
go
it.
back to
They can
Subternia.
do a Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
He's now Orko the White.
He's
yeah.
reincarnated in different form.
Yeah.
Orko the
So
White.
yeah, so I want to see that.
But I
one.
like him as red and gray body.
No, just the color scheme. I think the color scheme is fine. Yeah, but I want to see more of that content Orko, because we never have that in the 80s. Now we have that here. It's fine. It's a good, refreshing take on Orko, and I want to see more of that. So I hope he returns. I don't know how long that'll be, but I want to see him in the future. I want to see more of the other characters, and I'm sure we're going to see them, but we just saw like a handful, and I'm kind of sad that they had so much toys, right? And they only showed so little in the not montage, but in the
opening sequence.
starting the opening combats, the battle in the opening battle, they only showed
Fisto and Claptrap.
and Claptrap. Yep.
We didn't get Ram Man.
No, exactly. They were running towards the enemy. He was
like one of the fun for me. He was one of the funnest characters.
He was the perfect character to run, right? Run through those battalion. And I'm kind of sad we saw a little less of Battle Cat.
Yes. Oh yes, you're right.
It's so weird because he used to be like a really big part when He-Man was on the scene, on the spot. Like we see him because he's like a symbol, one of the other symbols of He-Man. But here he gets whipped by Skeletor's magic. It was Skeletor's magic, right?
I think so. Yeah. And he only came out in episode 1. Did he even come out?
That's it. No, that was
I'm not
it.
talking about Cringer, and
yeah.
talking about Battle Cat, the transformed version. And it's sad to see just
And he doesn't talk.
I mean, okay.
But he never did in the cartoon. When he's Battle Cat, he never talked.
Oh, did he not?
No.
Why do I
He only
remember him
roared
actually
whenever
talking?
he became Battle Cat.
I even think that Skeletor's horse had more screen time than Battle Cat.
Well,
They're
yeah.
trying to get him into
Oh, that robot, that fake one.
Yeah, the nightmare,
Yeah.
the one that looked like a nightmare. Yeah. Yeah, but so yeah, I want to see more of those characters.
We didn't see Skeletor's Panther.
Yeah, yeah, he wasn't there. Yep, he wasn't there. I want to see that also. But so yeah, so there's still a lot more of the what we come to expect of the Masters of the Universe, because they're like a whole team, right? But we didn't see like the Snake Men.
The actual
Well,
snake.
yeah,
Man.
that'll
Skeletor
probably
lives
come
in
later
Snake Mountain, but up across we saw one, I think, right? We saw one because there was a flashback when Tila and He-Man were going up into Snake Mountain. We saw one of
No,
the Snake
that's
Men.
not a Snake Man.
Oh,
That's
it's not?
Whiplash.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
Whiplash.
okay. So there's
supposed to
none
be a
of the
croc, I
Snake Men
think.
were
He
there.
was a croc with a ball on his tail.
Okay, okay.
And he comes out as one of the people who are
Under
who
the
worship the
motherboard.
motherboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was back.
So yeah. So those are the expectations that I'm looking forward to. And there's like a hopeful thing for me in the future. I hope they do She-Ra as well, but in the same vein, like in the same animation, just so it's standard across both franchise.
Netflix, yeah.
And if they're gonna for consistency's sake, since they have Kevin Smith doing this, I want to see Kevin Smith doing that as well, just so that the whole thing is tied up neatly. And I hope he
Yeah.
does tie it up neatly.
Well, if they're gonna do that, they have to like make Bo the main character of
Just to even it out.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever his take on it is I'll be fine. But it's more of the I don't want different showrunners for the two shows, just because it'll come out differently and the feel would be different. I want them
Right.
to be the same. So yeah.
I can't
So
remember. I
that's-
think
that's
I'm not
me.
sure if I think I'm the only one who bothered watching the Netflix She-Ra Princesses of Power.
Yes,
among
you're
us
probably
three.
right. Yeah, I skipped that one.
But I can't remember any reference to Adam in that show. So
Okay, then that's good. That's good. That means that there's open.
what's her
there's
name?
an-
Adora.
There's an opening for us to have our
Yeah.
She-Ra reboot with this
So,
animation house and this showrunner.
That's it. Yeah, well, that's true. Adora never was an orphan, I think, in the in that
Oh.
show. So she was by herself, and she was taken. She actually started off as a lieutenant for Hordak, of all the weirdest setups. So
Because they need to connect the hero and the villain.
no,
It's a trope.
that's true.
It's a trope.
Your theory stands. Your theory
Yes.
stands. One more, and you can make a thesis out of it. The
Yeah, but it started with Mr. Glass and Unbreakable.
but the problem is we did not review.
We didn't take it up.
We have not taken up all three movies. I would not mind. Those are three awesome movies.
Yeah.
But that will be
I haven't watched the last two yet.
that would be for another time. Oh,
It's Split, right? Split and then Mr. Glass.
Mr. Glass,
Yeah. Oh, no.
Split, and
Yeah.
Unbreakable.
But the
So it's
movies are
Unbreakable,
Split.
Split, and then Mr. Glass.
All right.
All right, going
My
to-
theory is very similar as well. I want more. Not theory, expectation. My expectation here is more character development because they deserve it. Cringer for one. We've seen a bit more personality in him beyond the scaredy cat scouring under the table, wondering if the fight's already over. We already mentioned that he was without Duncan only showed up after Tila and Andra and Party actually visited the sorceress and found out that she was still holding on to a little bit of magic, and she was holding on with every bit of life force that she had left. There was nobody guarding her except for Cringer. So there's a huge room, especially if we pursue another theory that we have that I'll bring up already, that Adam will survive the wound but will be very much a background character in the remaining of the season. We already established that this is Tila's story. It'd be weird if Adam comes back and becomes the master, a master of the universe, a champion again. And Joel will have a expectation to lay out related to that one. But I think Adam will survive that wound. We'll still see him there. He'll still be part of the party, but very much in a very weakened state. Weak as he is already as a normal teenager, normal pasty white person. But even more so with that wound. Especially the fact that he also cannot reincarnate in Eternia anymore. There will be a story to be told there. There'll probably be some character development as well there. I'm looking forward to that one. And the sorceress, maybe a bit more character development on her. She's still very much a one-sided, very flat character. I am the lady guarding the house. I turn to a bird. That's still pretty much standard fare from back when we were back in the 80s. We're seeing the fatherly figure of Duncan. I'm curious to see the motherly side of the sorceress. It has not yet been completely laid out. There was a portion in one of the episodes, I think it was episode 4 or episode 3, that Duncan wanted to tell Tila something, but he was cut off.
But which Evelyn all of a sudden
said,
interrupted.
No, don't say that. It's not important. I wonder if she actually knew. But there's already... So this is the type of foreshadowing that they should have done with Skeletor hiding in the closet.
Yes.
But we have some sort of foreshadowing that Tila is somehow related to the sorceress as well. And I wish there was a bit more concern in Duncan's face when they were saying that, hey, we gotta go protect Castle Grayskull.
They showed it in episode 1.
Yes.
When Man-at-Arms immediately asked the
rushed
sorceress
to Castle Grayskull, yes.
Yeah.
And he was the only one defending Castle Grayskull from atop the... Was that in episode 1?
No, that was
already the secondary battle.
So, but he
5.
immediately asked the sorceress, "Did he hurt you?"
See? That one. So, the time jump should have made him a little bit more... I don't know.
And if you can just imagine, I mean, he was banished from Eternum, and what used to be Castle Grayskull was considered no man's land. Anyone who went there was gonna be killed. Supposedly gonna be executed. Imagine how, unless he really didn't feel anything for the sorceress. Imagine how much heartache he would have been going through all of those years, not being able to visit his true love, if ever.
Yes.
I think he couldn't visit because he would be killed.
Yeah, but
he was being
that's
loyal.
Precisely
yes.
the point. Wouldn't it have been more heartache on his side?
So we wanted to see.
It should have shown
that effect. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Especially
it should have shown. That's the point.
They could have peppered a bit more like concern in his face when he finds out from he's all alone and somebody needs to protect her. Well, we did since he does say F it, I'm gonna go break the law and protect.
Yeah, he did.
But not before saving my daughter.
Yeah,
and telling her I love her.
Yes. Yeah. See that one we get to see a lot of. It was very strong. To be fair, it could be because he couldn't leave Orko behind.
Yeah.
As well, he was the only one taking care of Orko. So, I mean,
and Beastman apparently.
No, he just showed up.
That was so weird that Beastman was with them.
No. Beastman was watching them from afar.
Watching Man-at-Arms and Orko from afar?
No, Evelyn.
He was just talking. Like in episode 2, he just suddenly you see somebody's shadow.
Beastman was following Evelyn to make sure that she's okay.
Oh, okay. I always thought because the next scene that we see is it's in the house of Duncan and then Beastman is over there in the corner. The association that you would make is that he's with them. He's not with these guys who just came into the
Wasn't
house.
there a scene?
He's with the guys inside the...
Wasn't there a scene that he shows up when they reach the fountain?
Against the cult.
Yeah, against the cult. But then again, Man-at-Arms is also there.
Yeah.
So he could have gone with Man-at-Arms.
You could have made that. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
But he did say that he was tracking Evelyn. Make sure that she's okay.
Not creepy at all.
Because they're
Not at all.
the three original, right? Skeletor, Evelyn, and Beastman.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have. I actually applaud the decision for him not to be part of
The cult.
the cult
Yeah.
because he is the beast man.
Yeah.
So he's the most natural of all of them.
Yeah.
So he should be towards nature and not towards
Yeah.
technology.
Exactly. Yep.
And we've gotten, I can't remember if was established in the 80s cartoon, how loyal he seemed to be towards Evelyn more than Skeletor.
Skeletor.
Well, not loyal, I guess devoted would be the better word.
Probably.
Because of how much he was willing to just jump into the thick of things.
Are you saying love triangle?
I am saying love. Unrequited love. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Unrequited love from
From everyone. everyone.
Skeletor and
Everyone
then
who's
Beast.
part of the triangle.
Yes.
So wait, so are you saying that
Skeletor
has
and Beastman.
unrequited
No.
love for
We are shipping
Beastman?
Skeletor and
No,
He-Man.
so
That's the
Skeletor
standard
only
stuff.
loves himself
Okay.
plus
okay.
power. Right?
Okay.
And then you have
thought-
Evelyn here trying to chase after him, and you have Beastman here trying to. So it's not. It's like an open triangle.
Okay. All right.
It's not
It's
connected.
a greater than sign or a less
Yes.
than sign.
It's
Correct.
a greater
Yeah.
dad side.
It's an alligator.
And take us home, Joel.
All right. So yeah. So this isn't a hope or something like that, but it's actually a prediction, which is my thing on our show.
Yep.
I do the reaches and all of that.
Yep.
So yeah. So my prediction is actually that you already touched on it. Adam is not gonna be the champion moving forward. The champion is going to be Tila. Because why do I say that? Because well, it is Tila's story. This is this entire series so far is Tila's story, and then that's something that they've actually sort of sprinkled in the first 5 episodes. That Tila has a higher purpose.
Yes.
That there's something waiting for Tila. Tila is the only one who can do this. Is the only one who can do that. So yeah, it's something that they're already laying groundwork for.
Yes.
That Kevin Smith has already laid groundwork for. And then for me, we did see that sorceress-looking person, the one who didn't speak common tongue in Eternia. And for me, that also is a visual cue for us, for the viewers, because she wasn't a character who was off to the side. She was competing with the other champions.
Yes.
Which means that she was in the same level as them. Which means that there is a possibility that someone who dons the sorceress trappings can be a champion. That gives us that visual cue as audience. And the third thing is, the sword of power does not discriminate.
No.
Anyone can just... I mean, if Orko picked up the sword of power and said the words, he probably would have been Orko God. Or Orko champion. Because that's what happened
No, he would be Oracle.
Yeah.
He'd be the complete version of
there you have
himself. That's
he
true.
would complete his name, because that's what happened with Skeletor. He just took the
Yes.
sword away from Adam, and then he just said the word. So that's it. It's not Mjolnir. You don't have to be worthy. There's nothing.
No password. There's no password.
There is.
There is a catchphrase.
By the power of Grayskull, I
By
have
the
the power.
power.
There's no password to lift the sword.
Oh no,
Hold the
yeah,
sword.
yeah.
It's actually
Yeah, so
quite
anyone can just...
It's actually quite good that we should start calling the Sword of Power as a conduit, because that's what it really is. It's a way
That
for you
conduit.
to gain the power of
Grayskull.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so that's the thing, and it's not probably even the power of Grayskull, is it?
This is
Yeah,
just
by
a
the
diff-
power of Grayskull.
He's one of the
No,
first
it's
dudes.
by the power of Grayskull. I have the power. So using the power of Grayskull,
yeah, to
which
get
probably
more
means
power.
the power of the Grayskull Castle Grayskull, he gets the power from wherever it is. Wherever it
We
comes
find
from.
out that it wasn't Grayskull himself who actually named the castle.
The castle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
And he
found
even
it
thinks that
tacky.
they were like disparaging him by naming that castle and how it looks like after him. So yeah, that was actually kind of fun too. that all
little
of these
tidbit.
funny backstories came out. So yeah, that's for me. That's it. We've been getting all of these visual cues. We've been getting all of these side comments, and we've known for a while, ever since the 80s cartoon, that Tila is actually the daughter of the sorceress and
Yep.
man at arms.
Oh.
So yeah, we already know that. So we do know that she has this capability to wield magic because of her lineage, and we also know that she has this tendency towards technology because of her father.
Yep.
So she is the marriage of the two sides of Eternia. So which makes her the person who brings balance to the force,
Oof.
which
Okay.
makes her the best
Ray
person to be the
Palpatine.
champion.
Makes
Yeah,
her
she is Ray Palpatine.
All right.
And
All
so
right.
she's the perfect. That makes her the perfect champion moving
So you're
forward.
saying this is going to be Star Wars?
It's going to be Star Wars because Kevin
Uh-huh.
Smith is also a Star Wars fan.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but really, I mean, kidding aside, I do see that that's going to happen, because of everything that they've told us. If they haven't given us anything to show us that Adam is going to recover and become He-Man afterwards. And they have not declared anything of that that would lead us to think that, right? So for me, that whole idea of Adam and Tila switching roles. So Adam becomes the master of the house, and then Tila becomes the champion.
Yeah,
Adam
Adam
becomes
becomes
the
the sorcerer,
Sorcerer.
of Castle Grayskull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he'll still have that One Piece thing with the Falcon headdress.
The tight fitting one. It's very tight
Yeah.
fitting, by the way.
Yeah, it's very tight fitting.
No, he'll be a sorcerer with the H.
No, that's
But
gonna
Adam,
be Tila.
it only
Tila's
shows up
gonna
when
have
he's
that
He-Man.
with a
It only
T
shows up
now.
when- Yeah.
Right?
And
As the champion of, because she already has like a vest on, right?
that's it. Yes.
I hope. Okay, whatever happens, okay, if they do make her the champion, I don't want to see bikini armor. Okay, that's just
No. It's just
impractical.
like she has the vest on.
Okay,
So yeah,
and then
that's vest
it'll
type.
just have a big T.
Big letter T with
embellishments.
Yeah, embellishments. Yeah, so that's one thing. And this other thing is my expectations, not about the show, but it's my expectations for what's gonna happen moving forward with all of the other shows. So if this might include, this probably will include what Paul said about the Shiro reboot.
Yeah.
But I do hope and wish that they do more reboots of other 80s series.
Mattel has a lot
because-
under their belt, so
Yes, and actually, yeah, because I really researched about it. So in 2019, I researched about it because I came across a video, and they introduced someone who was supposed to be the guy on top of Mattel Television. So I was like, what? So there's now a Mattel Television division?
Right.
So they apparently in 2019, Mattel started Mattel TV, and that is what they're gonna do. They are going to bring back some of their IPs and make new cartoons and even live action shows
Ooh.
based on those cartoons. I think they already have what was that? Monster High or something? What was that?
Monster High.
That sounds familiar. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they have like that in
I think that's
the
Netflix,
pipeline
isn't
already.
it?
So yeah, we're gonna have a lot more Mattel stuff coming out. Barbie has had all of their
Well, no, Barbie
stuff come out.
has been
Yeah,
cartoonified
on
forever.
for like the
so-
longest time. But yeah, I hope that apart from that though, I do hope that, for example, I have a Facebook page about this. I want a Visionaries live action movie soon. Yeah,
Soon-ish.
soon-ish. Yeah, so I think that Visionaries was, for me, it was the cartoon of my childhood.
Mm.
Yeah, because of all of that poetry.
All of the poetry, the,
Yeah.
the staff phrases.
Yeah, those chants. And
Yeah.
then we talked about this last time.
Yes.
I do hope that they come up with Centurions,
Mm.
Power Extreme.
Or Extreme.
Yeah, Power Extreme.
Man and
that'd be a good
Machine.
live action.
Power Extreme.
Yeah. Imagine Chris Pratt
As
being
Ace
Ace McCloud.
As Ace McCloud.
Right? Right?
Uh,
And if
I was about
he
to
had
say.
been younger, if he
I,
had been younger, Tom Selleck.
I was
as
about to
Max.
say Tom Selleck is perfect
Uh,
for
Yeah.
Max.
Max Ray.
Max
But
Ray, he would've-
unfortunately, he's a little aged.
Yeah.
Who would be Jake Rockwell? Doesn't
Jake
matter.
Rockwell would be the Deadpool guy.
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan
Ryan
Reynolds.
Yeah, because you always have to have like a
Somebody
loose cannon.
goofy on the side.
Yeah. Right? Because you can't
Wow.
have Chris Pratt as the loose cannon. He's already like he's your leading man.
Right,
Right?
right. He's your
So, yeah,
poster
so you
boy. I don't know how much of
Yeah.
a poster boy Chris Pratt would be, but I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah, diba? I mean, that's something that would be cool. And another one, because of all of this, because of all of the interest in things like the Jaegers, Pacific Rim, and all of that, I do want to see a Macross remake, reboot,
Oh, Macross.
reanimation.
haven't
Because they
had a
already did
Macross in a
so
while.
for comics. They did a reboot of the comics of Macross Robotech,
Mm.
and I hope that they do it for animation, because that is such a cool for me. That was one of my first RPGs. Macross.
Yes.
Yes,
I
and
remember
with
that
Macross.
story.
Yeah, those are things I I think that our generation of kids who watch cartoons are gonna have a lot of fun, because we are going to see a lot of those IPs coming back, whether in TV series, TV cartoons, or as live action. Probably not gonna be as good live action movies or TV shows. Yeah,
Whatever's gonna happen, they were always going to be. There will always be a filter on top of our heads because of in front of our eyes, because there's this version of ours that made our childhood that is in ivory towers. But hopefully, the ones that we see will still end up, despite being divisive, maybe to an extent, some things we'll still enjoy.
yeah.
I guess we can cap it here. That is it for this episode. That is just the first 5 episodes of the season for Masters of the Universe Revelations, and we have no idea when the rest of the season is scheduled to land. But I think
Yeah, or how many?
or how many? Yeah, that's true. But we are definitely looking forward to finding out the conclusion, especially with that cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger.
Meanwhile,
God.
share with us what you thought of the show thus far in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you and what you think. We've got a few things lined up for next time. Marvel What If is going to be starting next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it
And-
not this week?
It's next week, August 11th.
I think it's going to be next week.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but we will definitely be putting out episodes once that's up. And obviously, the Suicide Squad
Yep.
movie is
Suicide-
going to be
The
showing
Suicide Squad.
tomorrow,
August 5.
the 5th. Oh, sorry, no, day after then.
Yeah.
And we will find a way to watch that show, and then we're gonna go. Hopefully, have a chance to react to that as well. So stay tuned.
Are we going to be doing the same format as Black Widow?
Definitely,
Nonstop?
definitely. I think
oh,
it's,
Are we
the one
going to
with-
have a hype
we definitely.
episode?
I think there's value in doing that. We can
Okay.
we can prepare for it with a pre-hype with a pre-showing hype, and then our raw
non-spoiler.
reacts, non-spoilers, and then
And then
have
our
a full
full-
react
Yep.
after that.
So
yeah,
watch out for that.
definitely. So we'll just stay tuned, I guess. As always, dear audience, we hope you tune in to our next episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. Till then, bye.
You have the
power
power.